A report from Boeing forecasts that nearly 27,000 pilots will be required globally each year until 2033 to meet increasing demand. Well, despite the challenges and the cost of training, many still aspire to become pilots. Jonathan Gibson visited the Airways Aviation Academy to find out more about the pilot shortage and how it's being tackled.
You're clear to take off, runway 23. Surface wind is light and variable.
Craig's hoping his career is about to take off.
First of all, they do 6 months of ground training. Once they've passed all their ground school, then they come into flight training.
Craig's gone from classroom novice through simulator training to fully qualified pilot in less than 18 months. But it hasn't been cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I'm coping slowly. I'm sort of seeing it's more an investment.
But it's the kind of financial burden which could put off new recruits just when the industry needs more pilots.
According to research commissioned by the aircraft maker Boeing, by the year 2033, there'll be a need for another 533,000 pilots. That's an average of 27,000 new pilots every year.
But even if the demand is there, finding the funding can be difficult because unlike undergraduates, trainee pilots just can't access the loans other students rely on.
I believe that the students in the cadet pilot these days are under disproportionate amount of debt when compared to students from other universities, for instance. And this is and will continue to deter people from a wider cross-section of our society.
Ian Cooper is already talking to airlines about new funding proposals. The former British Airways pilot with over 6,000 hours flight experience and 17 years industry experience is Airways Aviation's general manager, who is responsible for training. His priority is to make sure every new pilot who leaves the academy is equipped with the skills the industry needs. The multi-crew pilot licence, or MPL, is one example.
Well, we see MPL as our real way of growing the business and not just growing the business from a financial point of view, but we're working with key airlines in the industry to make sure that what we deliver is an industry-ready pilot and not just someone that passes a regulatory test. And the birth of our new programme, the Elite Pathways programme, goes some way to addressing that.
Upset prevention and recovery training is part of the curriculum, even though it won't be mandatory for new pilots until 2018.
In a real aeroplane, if you've got the nose pointing down at the ground in an overbank scenario, then there is very real fear, potentially from the person involved, that they might actually crash into the ground. And you can't replicate that in the sim. You're really teaching people to cope with that fear, that startle, so they don't freeze on the controls and they apply the immediate actions which will recover the airplane back to a stable condition and protect the lives of all the people on board.
Developing and delivering these type of repeatable skills is all part of Airways Aviation's education strategy. Professor Klich has more than 35 years' experience running universities and was recently appointed chair of the company's academies.
Aviation is a global industry. So, for example, when we design a new module here in the United Kingdom, we are automatically consulting with our staff in Australia so that we incorporate into it those elements that would maximise the chance for the students doing those courses to get accreditation and recognition in multiple jurisdictions. Education is about preparing people for a lifetime of jobs and a career that may span many different roles. Giving people the sets of skills that will enable them to kind of negotiate and navigate the rest of their lives in an industry. That's exciting.
There's professions where you can apply today, be interviewed tomorrow and start the following day. Aviation doesn't work like that. There's lots of hoops that you need to jump through. Rightfully so, but it's a lengthy process.
But one with rewarding potential.
It's a career unlike any other. It's a passion.
So you've made the right choice?
Oh yeah.
But making sure it's aptitude, not economics, which drives recruitment remains a concern, a challenge the industry will need to address in its own long-term interest.